Hi, this is Tiffany Lee with Shades of Commerce, and I am at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce today. This is the first interview of 2020. I am here with Randy Piers, who is the president and CEO of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. Hello, Randy.
Hello, it's so good to see you.
Thank you. I'm
Thank you.
very happy that you're here with me today. For all of you entrepreneurs, we are starting the year off with a bang. We're getting it in. So I'm going to jump right in.
Jump right in.
Okay, I was teasing Randy earlier. He is the king of Brooklyn, and I am going to tell you why. All right. Born and raised in Brooklyn. You stop me if I get something wrong. Lived in 5 different boroughs.
Neighborhood.
Oh, 5 different neighborhoods. Are all the neighborhoods in Brooklyn?
Yeah, there's 20 something neighborhoods. Yeah,
Okay.
I should
He's
know
still
that,
the king
right?
of Brooklyn, all right?
But I've lived in 5 of the 28 neighborhoods. In Brooklyn.
Okay. And attended Brooklyn College.
Yeah.
All right. Chair of Sunset Parks Community Board 7.
Once upon a time.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Served as the VP of the Economic Development at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce.
16 years ago.
Okay. And now is currently, as of September 2019, the president and CEO of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
We'll fill in a couple of holes there. But first of all, I didn't realize this was your first interview for 2020. So I'm really
Yeah.
honored. I'm honored that you've chosen me to do this. So thank you. And it's good to see you. It's always good to see you. And I really appreciate what you do for the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I never left far from home, as they say. I've always, for the most part, lived in Brooklyn, worked in Brooklyn, went to school in Brooklyn. For the last 2.5 years before I came back to Brooklyn in September, I was in Reading, Pennsylvania. So that was my only extended period away from my hometown. But Reading is not Brooklyn, so it was great to come back, especially when I had the opportunity to lead this great organization. So yeah, Brooklyn is in my heart and it's in my soul, and it's a large part of who I am as a person and as a professional. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, as the president of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, I'm from a small town, very, very tiny town
In Kansas.
in Kansas. On the main strip, there is the Chamber of Commerce. Every town you drive through, there is a Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
But I never knew what that was or what that meant.
Mhm.
So, for all of our viewers, can you explain to us why is the Chamber of Commerce so
Sure.
important to the landscape of a city?
Actually, this is a really good case in point in terms of chambers of today, right? You're a young professional, and chambers have been around for centuries, literally. But in many ways, chambers are an old school model, right? In essence, chambers are business associations, and their mission is really to help businesses to grow and develop and to support the overall economy in a particular community. And there's different ways to do that. Different chambers have particular areas of expertise. Obviously, different communities have different industries. But at its core, a chamber really is supporting the business to community in terms of its growth. Um, However, when I say it's an old school model, it's a challenge that chambers across the country are facing because we're in a very different age, right? Where information is readily accessible,
Right.
where technology has really permeated almost every type of business and industry, where the nature of work itself has changed.
Right.
And for younger professionals and for millennials, when they hear Chamber of Commerce, they kind of think about their grandfather, like, oh yeah, my grandfather, he worked in banking for 30 years, and he would go to the
Mhm.
chamber dinner every year. And
Yeah,
when he
exactly.
retired, they gave him a watch.
Yep.
So I think the question that you sort of raise in this indirect way is what is the current value proposition for chambers of commerce in today's day and age in 2020, right? Um, and it's something that the Brooklyn Chamber is working through as well. But at their core, chambers do 3 things: promotion, support, and advocacy. Right. So promotion, support, advocacy, the pillars of a successful chamber. The Brooklyn Chamber has this kind of fourth category that I like to talk about, and it's called convening.
Mhm.
So we have a convening role to play. So, for example, tourism, right? So tourism. Now, when I was growing up,
Yeah.
70s and 80s, not a lot of tourists came to Brooklyn. But today we have 15 million tourists come over the bridge, come
Yeah.
and they spend time in Brooklyn.
It's a hot spot.
It's a hot spot. We've got amazing cultural institutions. We've got Coney Island. We've got the Barclays Center. We've got
Right.
the Nets. All stuff I didn't have when I was growing up in Brooklyn, right? So there's plenty of
Yeah.
reason to come to Brooklyn. So people don't realize there are 14 colleges and universities in Brooklyn.
I did not realize that. I didn't realize that at all until I started working with college age students. And it's intense. Like, this is a college town. I never put that together that Brooklyn is a college town. It's a town of young
Yeah.
people.
You are spot on, and people don't see it as a college. We're more of a college town than Boston
Mm,
in terms of the absolute numbers,
We're
right?
starting to fight, but yes.
We've got we've got over 60,000 students, college students here, but we don't see ourselves as a college town, and not often do the colleges come together. College presidents, for example, come together to talk about sort of collective issues. Same
Mhm.
thing with the hospitals. Eight hospitals in Brooklyn, right? So the healthcare sector, we call it meds and eds, right? So how do we play a convening role and bring the stakeholders in healthcare, bring the stakeholders in education together to really talk about the future of the economy here, and what we can do collectively to kind of move it forward. So for this chamber, promotion, support, advocacy, convening. Those are
Yeah.
really the four pillars of what we do. And each of them is really fascinating and interesting and very wide ranging and varied.
Yeah. No, that's great. I would think that other chambers across the country are hopefully doing the same thing. Do you see yourself as kind of a trendsetter?
So I don't want to
Um,
be too wonky about this, but in chamber world, there really is this divergence, right? So there's in geographies where tourism plays a very important role in local communities, right? There are a lot of chambers that actually take on that tourism role. Maybe they run the Convention Center Bureau or the Tourism Bureau, the Welcome Center. A lot of times that's in smaller communities, in communities that are focused a lot on tourism. So that's kind of like one traditional alignment. They had merged two economic development organizations with their chamber, and actually one of those organizations did their own land development projects, right? So industrial development projects. So they actually built buildings. They actually made loans, industrial development loans, and things like
wow.
that. So there are certainly different variations of how you could incorporate economic development. But the Brooklyn Chamber, for the most part, is an economic development driven chamber, and in that sense, whether it's through policies, whether it's through partnering with government, we do a lot on the ground to facilitate jobs and opportunities. So, for example, we run the Business Solutions Center on behalf of the City of New York.
Right. It's a
That
great thing.
it's a great thing, right?
Right. I actually use the Business Solutions Center, and that's kind of how I rolled into the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, which I am a member of. But yeah, they offer so many services.
Yeah. So in theory, you could be a new entrepreneur all the way up to a multi-generational business. Whatever type of support you need, you can come to the Solution Center, and we could either provide it directly or we can refer you to the right source in order to get the assistance that you need. One of the new areas I want to mention in this capacity. So we are a CDFI, a certified financial
Yes.
development institution. So we
Yeah.
actually can engage in micro lending. And the great news here is, and I'm kind of announcing it first on your show, but we did get a grant from U.S. Treasury. It was announced at the end of November, a seed grant for us to begin a micro lending program in 2020.
So great.
So yeah, so we're really excited about this because a lot of our small businesses and some of our MWBE businesses don't qualify for commercial loans, or
Correct.
maybe they're new entrepreneurs, so they don't have the credit history or the track record in order to qualify for a commercial loan. So our goal will be to kind of fill that void,
Mm.
and provide working capital, so that they can get that new refrigerator, so that they can get a bigger contract and they can
Yeah.
produce more empanadas or something like that, right?
Right.
So if you think it through, there's really a lot of that sort of baseline financial support that we can provide through this micro lending program that we're really really excited about.
I'm actually very excited about that as well. That is one of the struggles, and we'll talk about women-owned businesses and
Sure.
minority-owned businesses a little bit. But that is a great struggle
Mhm.
for that demographic is getting loans and
Right.
getting financing. When you start digging into what's happening in those communities, and the growth of entrepreneurs in those
Mhm.
communities, that's definitely one of those things that they're facing that really sets them back is getting the funding. Um,
So I want to, so a little bit of data points here. So 84% of the 68,000 businesses in Brooklyn have less than 10 employees. So when if you just put it in perspective, Brooklyn is a small business economy.
Yeah.
And the overwhelming majority of new startups in any given year, and this statistic goes back 50 years or more, the overwhelming majority of startups are uh, MWBEs or immigrant-owned businesses.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm happy that you brought that up so we can kind of segue into that. So
Mhm.
for anyone that doesn't know or is not familiar with Shades of Commerce, we focus specifically on women-owned businesses and minority-owned business. That is our target audience. And that is one of the things that I'm really proud of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce for. They have a program designed specifically for that demographic. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Mm.
Why is that so important? Because as a woman and as a minority,
Mhm.
I came in and I felt incredibly supported. There was wraparound programs for everything that I was doing. And we talked about the fact that I was a woman and that I was a minority. It wasn't something like, oh, and by the way, she has a business and this is just a little thing she does on the side. No,
Right,
it was
right.
let's celebrate that. And I felt very supportive in having someone celebrate
Mm.
that. So
Good.
why is that important to you as you lean into this role? That,
Yeah,
by the way, Randy has been into as of September 2019. So this is a new
correct.
role for you, also.
It's new role, but I'm the recycle guy. Remember,
Yeah, that's
I, I,
right.
I was working for this organization 16 years
The
ago
King of Brooklyn. I forgot.
as
Yeah,
vice president.
yeah,
I don't, and if I get a little emotional when I say this thing, I'm a Brooklyn guy. We're very passionate. We talk with our hands. We eat a lot, but uh, this is who we are. Uh,
yeah.
you know, if you come to one of our MWBE committee meetings,
Oh, well, let me just clarify.
yeah,
That's M is minority, W woman business enterprise.
right,
So
that is
that's what
correct.
the acronym stands for.
It's one of our standing committees here at the chamber. And if you come to any one of the committee meetings, there'll be no less than 40 people in that room. And like any organization, chambers, the success ebbs and flows, right? We've had years where we had a lot of members, we had years where membership has declined, and so on and so forth. The MWBE community has stuck by this chamber, the Brooklyn Chamber, through thick and thin. They are who we are, no doubt about it. And for me, and this is a personal issue, for me, we're not going to abandon them. So we're going to do everything that we can to ensure their success, right? So beyond just getting them certified, right? So there's with the city, with the state, if you become certified as an MWBE, you can access government procurement opportunities, right?
Hmm.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's
And
really great.
and both the mayor and the governor um, need to be applauded for really, really expanding the percentage of contracts that are going to the MWBE community, right? So we're up to 30%, both state and city. For me, for us at the Brooklyn Chamber, the next phase is how do we help to facilitate more private sector to private sector procurement opportunities? Now, chambers do that
Okay.
through their promotion and their networking and all that, like organically creating relationships.
Hmm.
But I'm talking about there are large institutions here in the borough, right? Whether it's large private hospitals, large private universities, whether it's large places like development sites like Industry City, which have accumulated numbers of businesses that so if you look across the borough, you look at the large institutions, uh, what are we doing to encourage and ensure that they're thinking about procuring locally, that they're looking in their backyard in order to get goods and services and to purchase goods and services that they need and that are necessary, right? Um, yes, it has to make business sense for them, but it's also the right thing to do. And if you think about it long term, if you're supporting the business that's down the block, right, then you're supporting the wider neighborhood, you're supporting the wider
Right.
community, you're employing Brooklynites. It's all one circle.
It's that shop local.
It's that shop local, it's that procure local, it's that uh, help your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
And because their success is your success. So what we want to do is in this next phase of sort of MWBE growth and development, we want to serve as the clearinghouse for making that match between private sector institutions and other private businesses, right? MWBEs, and we want to serve as that clearinghouse. Now, how do we do it? right? We're leveraging technology. So one of the big things that you know about, um, and it has multifaceted applications, and we'll talk about some of those other applications, but we launched our own app, the Brooklyn app,
Yeah, it's a
right?
great app. I've been playing on
Right.
it. It's
I'm so
awesome.
glad you downloaded. So, and
Yeah,
anyone can download it, whether you got an Android phone, whether you have an iPhone. It's out there. Just
very easy to use.
go to the App Store, download the Brooklyn app, and there are these channels within the app. So think of the channel, and the app does a lot of things, and we're going to talk about what the app does. But think about a channel as kind of this private piece of real estate on the app itself. So we can do a procurement channel that could both host opportunities on the channel itself, and MWBEs can join the channel as well, so that they're getting real-time information about what procurement opportunities are out there in
Yeah,
the
there's a channel
community.
for everybody. There's a channel for MWBEs. There's a
Yeah,
channel for new members.
correct.
There's a channel.
Or maybe we just do it through the MWBE.
Yeah,
Either way you want how we structure it, we have the platform to facilitate more real-time interaction, so that more of these contracts are being let locally.
yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about um, your membership base.
Sure.
So I have a stat here. So over the past 10 years, the number of minority owned businesses has grown by 35%. And then during the last 5 years, women of color are starting businesses at a rate 4 times faster than any other
Sure.
business.
Yeah.
So that's a nationwide statistic.
Mhm.
You already mentioned that, you got 40 members coming into the MWBE meetings. Um, we are targeting that group, making sure that they feel
Mhm.
supported. They have a channel on the new app. What does membership look like at the Brooklyn Chamber? Have you seen
Yeah.
an increase
Yeah.
or a decrease accordingly?
Yeah. So we have 1,500 members, give or take, and overall in the chamber. I will tell you the number is down over the last 2 years. We've gone through a lot of transition.
Hmm.
Um, we've gotten, so now we have to get back to, leadership transition brings stability, then people want to join, right? So that's my role, right? So that
Yeah.
brought me here. So membership overall is down. However, and we haven't calculated the numbers. Yes, not every business that joins the chamber identifies as an MWBE or certified. So
Right.
you gotta be very careful about your terminology. We want to get as many MWBEs certified as we can, but it doesn't mean that every African American owned business, every Latino owned business, every Asian owned business, every woman owned business is going to identify as an MWBE.
It's very true
Yeah.
because sometimes, and we'll circle back to what you're saying, but what I have found is when I meet a business owner, and sometimes I say, are you minority owned? Are you woman owned? And sometimes people are hesitant
Yeah.
to actually tell me that
Right.
because they
Right.
don't want to be known as
Mhm.
such because they're afraid that it'll negatively impact business. They want to be able to just kind of wash over in and out of the system. And so you mentioned that, and even though that's kind of a segue,
Mhm.
I want to make sure that people understand
Yeah.
that should be celebrated, in my opinion. It's the uniqueness, it's the diversity,
Right.
it's kind of the things that you were
Right.
talking about. What
Right.
makes Brooklyn Brooklyn? We should be honoring and celebrating this diversity and letting people know, hey, yes, I am a minority and I have this
Right.
business or that business. So I encourage people to
Yeah.
engage with the chamber that way and let people know. But to your point,
And by the way, we will be celebrating it on February 4th at Bed-Stuy Restoration in the evening. We have our Black History
I
Month
will be
celebration
there.
event.
I will be there.
Got great honorees this year. But there's also the distinction between um, an MWBE owned business and are they certified or not, right? A lot
Correct.
of times we count the number based upon who has gone through this certification process, and for some businesses they don't want to go through it.
Right.
They're not interested in contracting with government, and that's okay. It's totally their choice. So people have to want to self disclose that they're part of it. I would say of the 1,500 members, given the fact that most of our membership is small business membership, that the majority are MWBEs. I once again I don't have all of the data, but
Right.
I would gather that that's pretty accurate. That the majority of them. Now we here in New York City and in Brooklyn have this other very very unique phenomenon. Maybe not as much in Kansas. Not to knock Kansas. We love
Yeah,
Kansas.
we'll see. We do love Kansas.
Kansas got good barbecue. Don't worry.
I'm
So
from
does
Kansas.
Brooklyn.
Anyone that doesn't know, I'm from
Um,
Kansas.
But we also have this other category that I don't think gets recognized in as much of a way, but immigrant-owned businesses, right? So
Yes.
and so it might not be an MWB, but it might be an immigrant-owned business, right? So So a lot of times, a lot of our entrepreneurship, particularly in the neighborhoods in Brooklyn, which are so diverse, and in many cases, it's immigration that makes them that diverse, are just immigrant-owned businesses,
Right.
right? So we got to take that into account. So if you add what I would say just immigrant-owned businesses and MWBEs, not certified, but just MWBE owned, it's the majority of our chamber membership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
even just walking down the street, you see this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
this is what you see. This
This
is
is what
what
you
the city
see, right?
is. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I wanted to also ask you a little bit about your opinion in regards to why, well, you kind of answered this. This is just kind of the nature of the town, but you're seeing, or we're seeing nationwide, an increase in the number of women that are deciding to
Mhm.
go into business for themselves. Um, in addition to immigrant owned businesses, minority owned businesses. Any thoughts, or have you spoken to anyone about why so many women are saying now's the time for me to start my
Yeah.
own business?
Yeah, I look, times have changed, right? And women, the role that women play in our economy is um, significant, right? And they are the movers, they are the shakers, they are the drivers, they are the leaders. Much of this is just entrepreneurship catching up with the times, right? Women saying, "Hey, look, I don't need to work, for a corporation. I have an idea. I'm an entrepreneur. I can make this happen."
Mhm.
And they're taking that leap, and they have more opportunities to do that. I mean, they're more. It's easier to get financing in some cases. It's easier to make the connections and develop the relationships. Things have changed. How the nature of how we do business. It's that old school old boys network.
Yeah, it doesn't fly
It
anymore, does
doesn't
it?
fly
It does not
anymore, right?
fly
And
anymore.
by the way, and this is why chambers have to evolve, right? Because
Yeah.
chambers themselves represented to a certain degree that old way of thinking. So chambers that have deliberately gone out and embraced women entrepreneurship, I think they see the value in that, in just in terms of increasing their membership. But from an entrepreneurial perspective, I mean, women have the greatest ideas, and they're bringing them to the forefront, and they're
Well,
making
I
them a
will
reality.
applaud that. I got so excited, I dropped my cards, whatever. We'll throw those away. I mean, that's a great
Don't
note there.
worry. I tell my wife that all the time too. By the way, you've got the
I'm
greatest
like, women have great ideas. Woo!
No, but it is, look, it is true. And by the way, look, you know, there are a lot of husband and wife partnerships too, or partner and partner partnerships that go into business now as well, right? So it's not even just a solo entrepreneur anymore, but we're seeing a lot of families take that leap and start businesses and make it, part of their overall family experience too. So that's a great thing. I mean, this is like you said, it's something to be celebrated.
Yeah,
And by the
absolutely.
way, we're not fully there yet. Even issues in the workplace like pay equity, right? These are still things that we struggle with, and things that we have a long way to go. But I will say, for our chamber, our ability to support the MWBE community, to look at areas where there are gaps, like microfinancing, and see if we can kind of fill a role there, and kind of equal the playing field. Then we're gonna do that. That's our mission. That's who we are.
So we've talked about a lot of different groups, a lot of different opportunities that the Chamber
Mhm.
of Commerce offers and provides for people. Some people might be intimidated
Mm,
uh, to join the Chamber of Commerce. The name itself is kind of like you said; it's been associated with
mm,
money and the good old boys. And some people might say, you know what, my idea is not
mm.
there yet. I'm not there yet.
Sure.
So for those really young entrepreneurs or people that have even been in the business for a while or
Mhm.
don't immediately recognize, like you said, the value proposition that the chamber has, what would you say to them?
It's a great question, and there's a couple of different answers, right? So to start with, just there's a lot of talk about millennials in the workplace, and how the culture of work has shifted, and how their sort of perception has shifted, right? So we actually do have another very active committee. It's the BK Young Professionals Committee.
I've
Uh,
attended as well. Yes.
Great, amazing group of folks. Not all entrepreneurs, just young professionals
Hmm.
themselves, different industries, a lot in tech, for example, which is a growing sector in the Brooklyn economy. So that for some people, that could be one way to get introduced to the chamber in more of a peer setting, particularly if you're if you're young and you just don't know where to start and you just want to get the scoop, so to speak.
They're a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
they're a lot of
They're
fun.
a lot of fun.
They are a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So that's sort of one area. You know, this chamber leveraging technology and delivering a lot of its now programs and services through the app is our way of sort of addressing that challenge head on, about bringing the chamber into a new era. And it's also a way for you to get connected to the chamber in a digital way that's a little less intimidating than I'm going
Right.
to come to my first event, or I'm going to meet the chamber executives, or so on and so
Right.
forth, right? So I think we've got a good opportunity here to get people exposed in a way that they're comfortable with through technology, that could then lead them to, I'm going to come to events. I'm going to meet with, the Business Solutions Center. I'm going to apply for financing. I'm going to
Right.
get involved with some of the legislative issues, because guess what? My business is impacted by this piece of legislation, which is kind of hurting our industry or something like that. So, and then we're a friendly group of people here. At the
Very
Chamber.
friendly.
Just come
Yeah.
on down.
You can network. You can meet people.
network.
It's
Come on
fun.
and say hi.
It's fun.
We eat a lot. At our events, we eat. We're Brooklyn. We eat.
We
have
do
that
eat.
advantage over every chamber in the United States. We eat.
Yeah. There's different food at every
different
meeting.
food we eat.
I like to
You know,
eat.
we're
Secretly,
Brooklyn,
that's the
we
only
eat.
reason I
So,
come. Yeah.
So no, people shouldn't feel intimidated. We want to be as welcoming as possible. By the way, we do every other month we do a new member orientation. So you can join and come to a new member orientation. We'll walk you through the process. I liken chamber membership to joining a gym, right? So you join a gym because you want to physically get yourself in shape. You join a chamber because you want to get your business in shape, right? But just like a gym, right, we can't do the exercises for you. You actually
Yeah.
got to go, and you actually got to use the equipment. Now, sometimes you don't know how to use the equipment, so you get a personal trainer. Well, we'll give you a personal trainer here at the
Yes.
chamber if you need.
There's a mentorship program.
Mentoring, it's all here, right? So think about joining a chamber, get your business in health, get business more healthy. It's just like joining a gym, same reasons, right? But don't join and then not show up to things or not get involved, because then at the end of the year, you're like, wait a minute, now they want me to renew and it didn't help me in any way, shape, or form, but you didn't come to anything. You didn't
Right.
use the equipment. You didn't access the programs. You didn't access the services, right? So we're here to help. We're here to support you. We're here to support Brooklyn. Brooklyn is our home. Brooklyn is who we are. And we're going to continue to do that for the next 100 years. We're just going to do it in a different way.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And so every person I interview, I ask them this question.
Uh-oh.
Yep,
I'm
yep,
nervous.
yep. You should be. I'm going to put you on the spot here. So, for all of our entrepreneurs, young, old, in between, maybe I'll be an entrepreneur, I'm not sure. You have so much experience. You've talked to so many people, met so many different faces. What is the toughest lesson, most important lesson you have learned in your career? Practical advice for a young entrepreneur, because a lot of times I ask people, what do you want to say to an entrepreneur? And they're like, follow your dreams. You can do it. Anything can happen. And it's kind of like, well, that's great, but how do I make that happen? So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, there was like 6 that I thought of in my my New Year's resolutions, but here's the thing: you really have to be open to different perspectives, and we all say we are. Yeah, I'm open. Yeah, I like you. But do we really practice that in our daily lives, right? I have found in my life that there are no true absolutes. That almost every person I've met and almost every perspective that I've heard has some degree of what I'll call truth, right? And once we open our minds to understanding what that truth may be and how it could apply to us and who we are, and not kind of retreat back to, well, we know what's best, or our way is the only way. Once we open that up, and we kind of shed some of the egos involved, we start to really truly grow. And I think it's the same thing with business leaders and entrepreneurs. I think the most successful ones start with the premise that they don't have all the answers. Start with the premise that they could fail, and failure is a learning.
Oh, I like that.
And start with the perspective that anyone I meet could be an opportunity to help me grow and to contribute to my goals and my success and who I am. So I think that, but that requires a lot, because it almost means that we have to kind of humble ourselves to say that we don't have all the answers, and that's
Mm,
okay, because you don't have them all either, and you don't have
right.
them all, and you don't have them all. But collectively, we'll have more answers than we had before, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah, I love
yeah,
that. And I think people need to hear sometimes. I spent a lot of years in nonprofit working with youth and teens and college
yeah.
bound students. And a student once told me the best thing she ever heard was, it's okay to ask for help.
Mm,
She had never heard that before.
right.
And I think sometimes people that go into business also feel that way. They feel like the minute you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. I'm showing people I don't know what I'm doing. People are going to take advantage of me. And the actual opposite is true. Sometimes you need to ask for
That's right.
help.
That's right.
Yeah. And the chamber itself is a great way to network and meet people that can help you.
That's true.
That's my plug. That's my plug as a chamber member. I've met so many people that have first words out of their mouth said to me, "How can I help you? What do you need?" And it's been really beautiful.
Good. I'm glad.
So thank you for sitting with me. I really appreciate you
Thanks for
taking
having me.
time. Yeah, it's been wonderful. If you could take a minute and tell everybody that wants to be involved now, we know that there's the Brooklyn app.
Right.
How else can they find
Yeah, so
information?
so so I would start with the Brooklyn app now. We're encouraging folks to join the chamber through the Brooklyn app. So download the Brooklyn app, and there's a join button right on top if you want to join. Base membership is $40 a month, so we're not going to break the bank here. Our
Hmm.
website is ibrooklyn.com. So it's the
Okay.
letter I, Brooklyn spelled out.com. Certainly can find a ton of information there. But mostly just check out our event schedule and come to an event. I mean, you want to see us up front and in person, and who we are and how we do it, just come to one of our great events. Come to some of our networking events. We try and do those all around the borough, interesting venues and things like that.
And you have coming up, there's the Black History Month event. Any other events
Yeah, we have a
that?
small business town hall actually on January 15th.
Okay.
So that's coming up. We're going to have a business after hours towards the end of February. We're just trying to nail down the venue and the event there and the schedule.
We're going to
In
party. We're going
We're
to
going to
party a
party.
little bit.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
party a little bit. In April, we're doing the Energy Summit. So we
Okay.
we used to do this event every other year back 16 years ago when I do it. But it's really important that we talk about the importance of the energy community as it relates to our businesses, right? So what programs are out there? Energy's cost savings programs for small businesses. But now, in today's day and age, it's also going to be all about the renewables. There are so many new energy companies and renewable energy companies with new technology coming into our economy. So it's going to be part expo and part summit.
That's
So
cool.
they'll be able to set up booths and demonstrate some of that new technology.
So all of us science people, we can geek out a little bit.
Well, no, but it's for the core business owner too. There's a brick and
Yeah.
mortar that you need to know what's happening too in the energy space and how it's going to impact your business.
But also, if you're a science nerd,
Yeah.
you should show up too.
We're going to do it at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. There's a lot of good stuff to see at the Brooklyn Navy Yard too. So
Okay. So once again, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Learned a lot, talked a lot. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Oh,
I'm going to
thanks
see
so
you
much.
again.
Yeah,
So this is the King of Brooklyn, my new best friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.